Welcome back. It is the Foolish Month, but it is also Autism Acceptance Month. You are well aware of us. I think you are well aware of us. I would hope you're well aware of us. And, you know, we are M.I.Diverse. I'm trying out something new. If I remember to do this next week, that's on me. Please, if you have the option to like, comment, subscribe, share all this kind of stuff even before you watch the video. So please share. But this week, because it is for us, at the time of recording, we took Easter off. So sorry about that. At the time of recording, it is our first episode of April. Well, it is April Fool's was the first of the month. And we didn't want to let an episode out of a very serious subject out on April Fool's. But we thought it'd be very appropriate to talk about comedy and the very weird relationship the autistic people have with comedy. So, who wants to, start at the board? Do you guys want to start?
Well, I guess I should say
Yeah.
that, it's not that we're all super serious all the time. It's like we do have a sense of humor. It's just very, very different. And we struggle more with instantly, at least for me personally, struggle with instantly recognizing someone else's
Mm-hmm.
satire in comedy when we're not familiar with it.
Yeah.
And the internet certainly doesn't help that much due to vagueness on what the intention is,
Yeah.
the active blurring on what is serious and what is satire. And I know for most people, neurotypical people, they think like, oh, this is like that's completely normal. But it's like, no, like it is, but it just feels different. It feels
Yeah.
like for autistic people like me, it just feels different. The feeling is different.
Yeah. And I definitely think um maybe because a lot of my content before I was on TinkTank was very comedy centric. A lot of my comedy was very absurdist comedy, so it wasn't like straightforward jokes and such. I mean, I'm kind of waiting on the 1 minute mark. I think we're already on the 1 minute mark. Uh, I'm a slut for absurdist comedy. I love a weird or funny joke that like you think you have the setup and then it's very much it leads into something else. I think a very good example is just like some forms of British comedy, if you know what I mean. I don't know about you guys, but you guys might have different.
I don't know. It's like
This is a relationship of comedy, but I think it's also how we view comedy as a form of art. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I can
Oh,
see your head shaking, John. Do you have? I want your thoughts. I want your thoughts.
Well, the thing is that when it does come to comedy, there's so many different ways of like what's actually comedic versus what is
Mm-hmm.
being played over a scene in a show
Mm-hmm.
for laughs per
Yes.
se. Like you see it all the time with the late 2000s like Disney Channel shows. They're always
Mm-hmm.
playing the laugh button, the
Yeah.
crowd laugh button all the time, even when it's like if they think it's funny, but I'm like, this is just plain stupid.
That or like I would say any of the syndicated networks like
Oh yeah, Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon. I would really say yeah, Nickelodeon. Cartoon Network. Sorry, people, we're just kind of getting into this. Cartoon Network didn't have to worry about laugh tracks.
Yep,
They got the laughs out of you out of their own accord. A lot of these other
exactly.
places tried to force the laugh out of you, but I would think it kind of goes for a lot of those shows are very much, sorry to say, they're shitcoms. If you think about
Mhm.
it, very
Mhm.
much. I don't want to say low effort, but there were some of the jokes that I think you kind of go from even all the way back to like Cheers to Frasier or modern comedies where you some of the jokes can be ooh, sorry, you'll guess. What's the word I'm looking for? Sometimes they might unintentionally be offensive to some groups, not because like, oh, people are soft. It's just more the people behind the scenes don't actually understand the
And
specific.
especially something like with Cheers, it was probably made during a time where those sorts of issues were just not well known.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like no one knew.
I think I think that type of comedy has also evolved. I mean, um, obviously, a lot of the stuff that we face today, that is a hot topic today, was very much a hot topic, back in the days of like the sitcoms of yesteryear, so to speak. Sanford and Son, Charles in Charge, all that kind of stuff. I'm digging deep. I, I
Well,
I'm di- I'm breaking the fourth wall and say I'm digging as far back as Doug's like sitcom eras. I mean, probably is that a little too I'm just gonna have him nod just so it doesn't like break away from my face. Is that around the right era? All right, so yeah, I mean, but yeah, no, there's a lot of hot topics. I think some I will say the jokes from the past, the bits from the past that were very much dealing with modern situations were still a little like tongue in cheek. I feel like as we got closer to the 2000s, this like homophobic, transphobic like jokes and everything just got a lot cruder and crasser. I think, and maybe I'm just
I mean, yeah,
observational.
I think I get what you mean. Like, especially around like I think part of it is also the 90s especially was a time of experimentation and that just bled into the 2000s. Like everybody was just doing everything, sometimes for the worse, but like it was just a lot of like it's like things at that like there were a lot of things at that time that just didn't exist before that. So they were just going bigger and bigger and experimenting more and more until like some of it kind of just made a mess.
Yeah, and I think is with the advent of modern like media, especially you know social media, internet, or like I want to say television, but television was the thing 70 years ago, 80 years ago, 90 years ago is like a lot of the material. There's a lot more material to work on now because a lot of people are more exposed to certain things, and I think, and this isn't just like an autistic thing. I think it's also just a people not understanding and having the literacy for certain bits of comedy is being able to tell when something is a jab or something is in jest. If that makes sense.
Yeah, like laughing with instead of at.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yes.
And I think with something like the internet especially, it has helped accentuate like I there's probably a better word for it, but the word that comes to my mind is sporadic humor.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like random humor. It's like
It,
someone just inserts a random thing and then it just everybody just kind of goes along with it.
yeah,
Like
that's what I mean
yeah.
with absurdist humor. I
Yeah.
mean, that's why that's why I like. I don't want to say just British comedy. There's of course like modern like creators that are like comics themselves a little bit when it comes to certain things. It doesn't just have to be punchline joke. It could be the whole context of the situation. Um, it's a bit of a more mature show, but Smiling Friends, I would say, is very much absurdist comedy, where the whole premise is
Yeah.
just very absurdist. It's not entirely mean spirited, but it's not trying. There's layers to it. Um, I mean, John, you we all have different tastes in comedy. Do you find absurd comedy, or is there other genres of comedy that you think
Well,
work on your end? So I
well, I
mean, like,
definitely think absurd comedies definitely is found in cartoons. You can
mm-hmm,
definitely see that like in Looney Tunes and
yes,
SpongeBob and like these like I don't know if it's even in Steven Universe or not because I have not watched Steven Universe yet.
I mean, I like it.
But again, it's like, it depends on how far you want to take the comedy. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on how far you want to take it. Like, yeah, there's a lot of shows that are like, you know, technically meant for adults that have
Yes,
adult jokes in it, and you shouldn't be showing that to a child.
yeah,
But then again, I mean, as I said before, it depends on how far you want to go with it.
yeah,
If you want to make it light and still funny, do so. But if you want to make it like raunchy and like, yeah, let's just throw in a joke in the scene or something like that. It's
yes,
like, you want to do that? So,
yeah. I
And
think. Oh,
especially,
go ahead.
oh,
Go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say, and especially with well, when it comes to creators working on working on family friendly material, like the good ones actually do well with restrictions.
Yes,
Because that's where a lot of, because as the saying, as like it's not a saying, but a lot of times a lot of good creative works come from restrictions and limitations.
yes.
It's a creative thinking.
I Another thing is I know I'm talking about like adult comedies when I'm the ones I'm referring to. I mean, everybody knows South Park, and a lot of people like to think that they're being mean spirited to one side or another. They're just being like that to everyone. I think also you have to take it at the value of people need to understand that, and this episode is going to be a little crass when some of the words I'm saying. Cartman's an asshole, and you need to laugh at the fat kid who thinks he can get away with being a belligerent racist, xenophobe, homophobe, all that kind of stuff. When in fact he does a lot of the shit that he makes fun of other characters for, and it's just very funny to think that some people actually think that he's serious, or they're being serious when it comes to a lot of these things. When half the time, most of the time, they're giving shit to credible shit. Like they're being very credible with some of the stuff, for stuff that should be called out. And I think, kind of springboarding off of that, I think a good thing about comedy too is I just seen, this is related, so I just want to say I just seen this interview of Rainn Wilson interviewing Serge Tankian about performers having their like opinions or like being activists. Is that, you know you you can use current events as like a form of comedy, and I would think if you can poke fun at it, then it kind of helps a lot of people and yourself to not always be so doom and gloom, because you can recognize it to be, this is freaking ridiculous. This is freaking stupid. Of course, some people's jokes, I think, I did see a TikTok of this earlier this month, of some people saying some jokes are just, hey, this person bad. You know what I mean? So it just kind of
Yeah.
loses it. It kind of loses its whole thing. Like you have to, there needs to be an extra layer to it. But I definitely think there. I keep saying there's layers. I think a lot of some of these comedies comedic bits are contextual. And if you understand the source of the joke, then it makes it funnier. I mean, I did a like I said, I did a 1 to 2 years of recording myself making jokes about karate bugmen and like how stupid everything is sometimes. Like for like 374 days straight. It's like there's something funny about it. You have to be able to laugh at the thing that you enjoy and poke fun at it to have a little bit of comedy in it. But don't be a dick. Some people, I'll say this. I grew up in the era of we all kind of did. I grew up in the era where like Gabriel Iglesias, Jeff Dunham, Dane Cook, Jeff Foxworthy, all these kind of guys. I mean, of course, a lot of these guys were on different ends of the political spectrum. Obviously, I can't remember his name right now, but he played he was in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He's the guy from the future. I can't remember his name right now. But he has a lot of his comedy routine is calling out a lot of stuff. And sorry, I digressed. Because my point was about crude comedy. Sorry. A major part of my issue with how comedy has been kind of turned into something negative is actually sit through a Jeff Dunham show. It is a product of its time. It's very much there's a lot of homophobia, Islamophobia, just brown phobic, there's a lot of very negative stuff. And I really think, it's kind of affected how a lot of people make jokes about today because they think like, oh, make fun of these people, that people. That's not where it's funny. There's no joke if you just like basically not devolve, but if you push somebody down to like a base level, it's say all people like this are like this, and that's the joke. You know what I mean? So I'm sorry. I went on a rant over. You guys take over for a minute.
Yeah. And actually, when you were talking about absurdist humor, and it actually reminded me that one time I watched the movie Idiocracy, and it's like, yeah, so much of it is like very, very absurdist and over the top. But when you actually dig deeper, or when you actually get to the baseline core of what they are making fun of, it's like, oh my gosh, this is essentially what's happening right now.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to think that a movie from like 20 years ago, God,
I
they
think 2006 maybe,
20
or
years ago. God, to think a movie from 20 years ago almost predicted how I don't want to say people have devolved a little bit, but I mean like we fast tracked because like what that movie actually was like the guy was frozen for like a couple hundred years,
yeah.
and then I mean we fast tracked it. We went from a couple hundred to like 2 decades because some
Although
people.
granted,
Oh,
it didn't take into consideration how much the internet
yeah.
would influence so much of it, but it's kind of there. The internet just helps sped up the process.
Oh no, it was no, hold on.
Yeah,
No, I think he
I'm
got
kind of
frozen for 1,000 years, I think. So
yeah.
sorry.
I was trying to, and did it come out in 2006? I can't
It
remember
Yes,
exactly.
it did come out in 2006.
Oh,
So
okay.
it is the 20th anniversary of Idiocracy, people.
Oh
Um,
boy.
I no, I agree. It is kind of funny, and actually, it is kind of funny to think, like, you look at some of the stuff that they were just like poking fun at in Idiocracy, and then you reflect that onto modern day stuff.
Like especially America. It was
Yes,
mainly just criticizing American consumerism and stuff like that.
yes. I mean, we are there. I mean, obviously, we're not like we water the crops with Gatorade because it's better than water. Somebody's gonna do it.
It's like no, but the point is there. You know,
Actually,
it's like the what they were trying to get at here is that it's like even though we're like I said before, a lot of the stuff is very much exaggerated for comedic effect.
mhm.
The point is still there. A lot of like the point is being that a lot of these basically how much corporations has basically taken over literally everything.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? It's kind of funny we talk about this. You know, we all have like probably have some history with Comedy Central movies, and Idiocracy is very much a Comedy Central movie. Which, actually, funny enough, it's funny to think like the same network that aired all of these very politically charged comedians, like politically right wing charged comedians, also aired a lot of politically left wing. They were kind of center of the board, if you know what I mean. Um, do you guys have any favorite do, comedy movies, specifically Comedy Central or otherwise?
White chicks.
Oh
White Chicks
no.
good. White Chicks is good. Terry Crews, he's great with comedy. That's for sure.
Oh,
You know, I'm kind of surprised.
Medea.
Medea, the one's a good one. What's
Yes,
up, Jenna?
Medea.
I was just gonna say I'm surprised you mentioned the movie White Chicks because it's like it's kind of a little problematic in terms of
A
its
little bit,
premise.
yeah. There's some bits that have aged like milk. There's some bits that have aged like wine. I mean,
Yeah.
I I always kind of go back to, for me, maybe it's just because I'm kind of partial to some of their music, is I always really like Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny.
Oh
It's
yeah, I've seen that.
it's not so crass. But it's definitely not punching down at people crass. I mean, there's also, so I think just Jack Black as an artist has a lot of like really good movies. Nacho Libre, certified classic. 20 years 20 years old this year. Um but I think that's definitely one. There's definitely one of the movies I always kind of point back to, of like that era of the early to mid 2000s, like comedy movies, especially that would air on Comedy Central. Because it wasn't so crass and making fun of people. It was kind of making fun of like the like rock and roll, like behind the scenes type stuff in a sense. And Jables like going from his small town to meeting Cage to be like making a, obviously, spoiler alert for probably like a 20-year-old movie, making a deal with the devil by basically taking his tooth and using it as a guitar
Or
pick,
like
becoming famous.
no, the premise was they were trying to get the pick and so they could I
Become
think do a like a
famous.
concert and get money.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a good movie. It's still a good movie after a long time. The soundtrack, I still love the soundtrack. And I think that's kind of why I like comedy music. Sorry, sorry. I'm got
I I know this isn't a movie, but I also like for comedy, I sometimes listen to Trixie and Katya for their comedy. Because it just, if I feel down, I just watch some Trixie and Katya and just it gets me through.
and I think like for some of the for some performers, they have. I might be coming out of context. You can correct me, please. Is when performers are part of the community that the joke is about, it makes it 100 times funnier because they know the intricacies of the community that they're joking about. It's
Yeah.
not
Exactly.
it's not a white guy talking about like the the intricacies or like how dumb something in like the black community is for a black woman because they don't understand it. I'm not saying that people can't tell jokes but if you understand the community that the joke your joke is about and what goes into that community, what is part of that community, then that's okay. That's okay. But like if you don't understand jack shit about community A,
Yeah.
B, C, and D, don't I
Yeah.
would kind of stray
Basically.
away.
Basically, it's like if you don't understand the material, don't freaking use it. As
I'm
simple
not
as that.
this isn't trying to gatekeep anything,
Well, yeah, yeah.
but I mean
It's just we've
like
seen far too much examples of people like outside of a certain community thinking that they're cool and hip, like joking about this community that they have no experience in, or they think that they're trying to like be helpful or something, but they're really not.
That not only goes, it doesn't only go for just comedy, but also, writing literature in general too,
yeah.
because it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
how many times have we seen people try to create something based on a culture that's not theirs, and then it
Yeah.
flops? How many times have we seen that? You don't talk to the right people, you don't read the right books, you don't look into the right information on that part of the culture and part of the tribe or something like
Yeah.
that. I mean, how many times have we seen that happen? Several times, and then the thing
Yeah.
becomes a flop because it's like, oh, well, you didn't do it right.
It's like a white guy trying to write Japanese culture for an American audience. There's a couple books like that. Look it up. Marvel Comics especially did it really bad. Uh, that's the thing is, I mean, you can only have so many caricatures of like certain characters written by people that definitely aren't of the group. Like I said, this isn't like gatekeeping in the sense of you can't tell the joke. Like just don't be a dick about it. That's the core premise of
And
it. Don't
and also
be a
just be
dick.
open-minded. Be open-minded that, hey, maybe I might have incorrect information about XYZ, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of where all the layers of it are.
Al-
Is if you under
Also,
what
another, oh, I'm sorry. Also, another favorite comedy movie I have is Norbit. No,
that
no,
one works
Norbit.
too.
Okay,
I
that's fine. Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
funny.
there's a good amount of some of these comedians that do understand when the jokes go too far. Obviously there's some jokes that have aged like milk, like I've said before. um but I think, god, I don't know why I'm losing the word here. I actually do love the Eddie Murphy movies. 90 Professor, that's a good one. The second one's a little bit.
It's like you don't have to make it fancy. You don't have to use the fancy words. Just be
Yeah.
simple.
Like, you reminded me of another, like, I mentioned Jack Black, Tenacious D, Pick of Destiny. You know what's actually a bad movie that I actually kind of appreciate or love low key because of like just family history or like contextual family history? It's Robin Williams's RV. I don't know if you guys have seen RV. It's bad. It as a movie, it is bad, but I think as a Robin Williams movie, it's still serviceable. But I grew up with taking a lot of road trips on an RV with my grandpa and everything. So that movie just kind of hit me in a place where I still have a soft spot for it, even though objectively it's probably not a very good movie. We would always make a joke about there's the scene in RV where obviously the whole premise of the movie is that Robin Williams' character, I believe he's a businessman that is kind of forced to take this RV to a destination, and he has to be there at a certain time for a business meeting, and he doesn't know jack crap about how to work an RV, all that kind of stuff. He goes to a plumbing station, so to speak, and he does it wrong, like very wrong, and somehow, so, somehow he blows a pipe, and you can kind of get where this leads to, and so I can't talk. So the nickname for the RV in the movie is called the Rolling Turd. And I remember always making this joke to my grandpa after I've watched it, when after the scene it was like, it's raining turds from the rolling turd. I know. I think it's another good thing about like comedy is like if it relates to you in a way, I think it works very good. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I was just
I'll let you go.
to kind of get back on topic of comedy and autism from the beginning, speaking of how
Yeah, because
it
we were kind of
relates,
going about yeah.
yeah, speaking of how the comedy can relate to you, it's like, it kind of it feels good when you're like an autistic person and and from that experience of being autistic, you could kind of joke about yourself.
I think that's a thing. I When it comes to self-deprecating humor,
Yeah.
self-deprecating humor isn't always bad.
Yeah, I know.
Of
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
some people will like tell you it's like, oh, you should beat yourself up. It's like I'm not necessarily beating myself up. I'm noticing like there's these gaps in like certain issues in myself, and I'll make fun of myself just to make myself laugh or whatever.
Yeah, lighten the mood.
You're
It's
turning a negative into a positive.
Yeah,
exactly,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
exactly. I completely agree. Is I think it kind of goes for a lot of stuff. Is we mentioned this before. You mentioned this very early on. Is tone is everything in like comedy. So sometimes you kind of have to have it put on a platter. Basically, the tone of what you're trying to say is the joke in the platter. If you do it stone faced, some people aren't going to take it seriously. It's not just an autism thing. There's just some people. If you say it's stone faced to straight face, nobody's going to take. People are going to think you're being very serious about this stuff.
Yeah, it's like human beings are very, believe it or not, they're very, very sensitive to tone of voice.
That's why sometimes people don't understand with like Twitter posts and all that kind of stuff. I'm not calling it the other one. That's why people can't tell on Twitter when somebody's making a joke because it's in text.
Or even
That's
like, or even like, even with something like YouTube, for instance.
yeah.
It's like YouTube videos. We don't even know 100% certain if someone's being like, if someone's putting on a persona or if this is their actual opinions. It's like we
Yes.
don't know that.
YouTube and TikTok, like sometimes there actually has to be a warning that something is satire because half the time if you don't know if like somebody's actually being serious and they're actually making fun of like these groups of people.
Or you can't tell if someone is like being ironic posting.
Yeah, exactly. Because obviously you get somebody, it kind of steps back into the somebody in the community making fun of themselves is say a drag queen makes a joke about herself and then the straight white guy sees that, thinks it's funny, but doesn't understand what makes it funny, and then he'll try to appropriate that joke, and then it just kind of comes off as very offensive, so to speak. And I think it's just, you know, it's not just an autism thing. Neurotypical people sometimes don't understand what makes a joke funny. And that's why in certain communities, if you understand the social intricacies, that might not really be a word, but I'm going to coin that as a word. If you understand the social intricacies of it, then you're going to understand when something is satire, when you're making fun of yourself. You know,
Yeah. And I actually say this about like tone and yeah, like tone and intention is because I'm actually when I was trying to brainstorm some things to talk about, I was reminded of when the mid to late 2010s when everyone hated like the comedic animated shows that was released around that time, things like Johnny Test and Teen Titans Go. It's like, I've heard some cases where some of the people who were throwing a fit about it were on the autism spectrum. But the problem is we don't know exactly if these people were on the spectrum, considering the anonymity of the internet, because, like I said, some of these people could just be ironic posting, and
yeah,
yeah,
I will say, and I will admit, I probably was in the camp of the people that were like upset about Teen Titans Go because I grew up with a very much different Teen Titans that was very serious,
yeah, yeah,
but also had its like light comedy moments. But I think when you go from like serious and comedy to straight comedy with modern sensibilities, especially when you're like a teenager, early adult, your brain's still forming, you get angry. There's some stuff I can kind of look back on somewhat later seasons. I could be like, hey, that's actually kind of funny. Because I seen a clip earlier today, I actually believe, is Teen Titans Go is very much okay to kill. They will for comedy. They'll just like off a character, like push them off a cliff, and that's like the whole joke because hey, XYZ character is annoying. Why don't we just like push him off a cliff? And that's like the whole thing. And I
it's like
think
a
there's some things you can look back on and say, actually, it's not as bad as I thought. There's some stuff I definitely was bad, but it's not as bad as I was previously thinking it was.
yeah, and some of it really just gives the impression of, did they just use this as like a place to vent their frustrations on life and such?
Yeah, I think that's another thing that some people kind of use as comedy. I think a lot of people use as comedy as like situations they go through. I know very much the laughing at yourself kind of comedian is like look at Gabriel Iglesias. His whole jokes, a lot of his joke has to do with his weight or his Mexican culture or Latino culture, and that's a lot of why it kind of works. That's a lot of why it works is because he's overweight and he's a Latino. That's his joke. That's his whole thing. That's why Alex Delgado's TikToks work because he can get away with it, but he's not making fun of it. Like, he's just being an absurdist.
And like him being like both like Latino and like larger body type, it's like he has experience with it.
Exactly, and that's kind of why some of those jokes are like work. That's why those jokes work because he's making fun of himself, and that's a thing too. I think some people need to understand why that those comedic bits work a lot better than Jeff Dunham like whipping out a doll that's clearly just a really racist caricature of a character. It's a white guy holding a black guy doll making jokes about black people. Well, it's kind of, that's offensive. It is offensive. But like if you're like really large, all the fat comedians. I'm not trying to say this as a complaint. It's funny. A lot of the fat comedians I see always make fun of their own fatness. You know what I mean? They're not afraid to say they are big backed. I think everybody likes to say every fat guy, actually like big fat guy, will always make a joke about them having a big back because it's not really, they don't want you to, feel sorry for them. They want you to laugh with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, for the most part. I know I'm not a skinny guy. I'll make a big bad joke every once in a while, in my own expense. Sometimes if I eat too much, I'll be like, "Oh, big back too close to the sun." But that's a here or there situation.
Sometimes sometimes even make jokes about myself, being like, "Oh yeah, I'm a small little thing in my community."
I there was this joke. I There's at least two coworkers at work I can make jokes with. One of my coworkers I can go back and forth with, and he knows any time that we make jokes, like I'm getting better at giving a back and forth. Needless to say, he is a very much a very petite man, so to speak, and you know where the jokes kind of lead. I never, I never try to be like saying very crass or very rude things about him. It's just more if he tries to come up to me and we have like the little like physical joke or whatever. Um, it's more on his behalf, a little more on my behalf. I get called a bear just because of there's a lot of stuff about me at work. How I'm very soft and all that kind of stuff. It's like when he tries to do something to me, like knock me down or whatever. It's like, oh, what are you gonna do? The twink's gonna knock me over. like like he knows. At least I hope he knows. I don't mean it in negativity. I mean it in jest. Because he knows I'm a very large man. My coworkers know I'm a very large man. I don't really think that guy's going to be able to knock me over without like a little bit of trouble. But yeah,
Yeah, and then sometimes I joke about my hyperfixation. I have like just the action of hyperfixation. It's like, hold on a second, I need to get through my hyperfixation real quick. This
dude,
is my hyperfixation moment.
dude, do you know how many times like I will every so often and I will make a joke about like my action figure collection and like make a just I'm a grown man playing with my dolls or whatever. I'm playing with my toys or whatever. But in the same like breath, I'll start actually being like, well, actually, no, they're action figures. Duh, 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 duh. Duh. That's you, you gotta be able to laugh at yourself
Yeah,
sometimes.
just gotta loosen yourself up. It's like when the world is stiffening up, being rigid, you just have to be a little loose. Because we all need to be a little loose sometimes. In moderation, of course, but you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah. I I definitely think there's sometimes when a trend, when a joke becomes a trend, when it becomes corporatized, then because a lot of these corporate guys really don't understand what makes the joke funny, and then they just
Or
they
those
they, they ruin the joke.
Yeah, or those times where they try, like that one trend where they were trying to make a movie about like a YouTuber or a meme. It's like, and then it obviously becomes bad because it's like it's just not, they don't understand it. It's like, it's obviously meant to be a cash grab.
Like a really good prevailing, not good, but a really bad, like constant joke that they keep on doing, even though the joke was about like a decade ago or more, is the screaming goat. These movies keep doing screaming goat jokes after like 12 years. Like, guys, it was only funny for like 3 weeks. We don't need to be. I'm blowing the mic. I can tell I'm blowing the mic. The joke was only funny for a couple weeks. You guys don't.
It's
Or
like
even 3 months.
Three
it's
months.
like guys, you need to understand that memes don't last as long as you think they do. They sometimes last for 5 seconds.
Exactly. I think
Hmm.
that's another thing is the half life of a meme or a joke compared to like of today compared to a joke from like the 70s, 80s, 90s is you kind of had to have it be like brought back and like people would keep on doing it. Obviously, probably people got tired of some of those jokes like pretty fast. SNL jokes will get like repeated like 20, 30 years on because they're funny. And, sometimes these movies get made into, these jokes get made into movies and all that kind of stuff. But with like modern comedy is, especially a meme only lasts at least a week. At, at most, maybe, actually, at least 3 days, at most a week. I can say for myself, for somebody that posts memes, shit posts, and the like. Sorry, I'm blowing up my mic. I can say for somebody that posts memes, shit posts, and the like. Yeah, the the half life of those things don't not last very long. So don't expect to be making the same joke or expect that your joke to be going on for like years and years and years. That's not going to last very long. I would post one video of like my jokes or whatever, and then it would only get like a couple hundred views, a couple thousand views, and then after a week or so, nothing. Maybe it'll pop up once or twice, but it I think just because of how fast we've kind of made the internet nowadays is that
We move on very
we
quickly.
move yeah, we move on very quickly. And that's the problem with um older internet culture and older comedy movie culture compared to modern internet movie comedy
Yeah,
culture.
because mo with modern movies and modern internet culture in particular, is that they are the quickest.
Yes.
They die out much faster than the older internet stuff, really.
Yeah, because if you want to do Gangnam Style, if somebody did a Gangnam Style joke today, that's a 12-year-old song. Or no, 14-year-old song, I think. God. That's a song from like a decade or more ago. So if you made that today, that's well past its half-life. I think I remember right when Ralph Breaks the Internet came out, they did a screaming goat joke. And by the time that movie came out, that meme was already past its prime, like by a few years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that whole entire movie was just basically one giant Disney advertisement.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me started. I that's a conversation for another day for failed sequels. Um, but that would work. Um, let's see. Yeah, 2012. So is the Screaming Sheep meme came out in 2012. Ralph Breaks the Internet came out in 2018. So that's a 6 year gap. They could have waited. They could have done the movie a little bit sooner.
Yeah, and I
It
mean,
would have been relevant.
yeah, and I mean, granted, movie productions take
Take a
longer.
while. They
They
take a
take a
while.
long time. We get it. But it gets to a certain point where it's like if your movie production goes beyond like a certain amount of years, it's like just don't add it in there.
What's worse is actually think yeah no the first movie came out when the meme came out. What they could have done to kind of get on that train of haha funny screaming goat is to have it in the ads. or like have some ad rolls with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Although I have like read somewhere that a lot of comedy really like a lot of the comedy that works well throughout time are those that are not centralized to a specific era. So
It,
that's something to consider.
yeah, and I it's kind of hard sometimes to articulate it well, just because different strokes for different folks. Obviously,
Yeah.
what somebody might think is hilarious, somebody might find like absolutely abhorrent. So it's hard. It's hard to make sure that your jokes will work or not if, like, I don't want to say peer review, but no, actually, yeah, I would say peer review is kind of funny because I know. Here's another thing: is sometimes you can make a whole character a joke, just the whole premise, and still have a good laugh about it because you understand the character. Because I've been wanting to do this character for a playthrough. I wanted to try to get D&D playthrough going. the The joke is the character is literally just a Muppet, literally just Fozzie, not legally a legally distinct Fozzie, I might mind you. But the main joke is he can't be perceived from the waist up, and that's a contextual comedy because obviously Muppets are rarely seen from the
Yeah.
waist down, and if you do see them, that's really weird. It looks really weird. Sorry,
Although
we
I
went on a tangent.
although I also think that if you're gonna make like a character, I'm also kind of I'm privy. I don't really like it when a character's whole entire thing is that they're just a joke. They're just this one joke and that's it. And it's like I think I would prefer it if a character
You want the
exists.
multi-layered.
Yes, I want them multi-layered in some capacity.
I think that's why this is all related. I think that's why certain comedy movies work. Is like obviously kind of pointing back to Wreck It Ralph. Like part of the joke is Ralph is a big guy, and obviously he's the bad guy of his video game, and he does all this stuff that like a big guy in a little people world, that a lot of that jokes. But obviously, what makes the character work even past the funny bits is that he doesn't like that he's a bad guy, and he wants to be more than that. So the movie works in a way to kind of subverse your expectations that the guy is clearly a bad guy. He's not a bad guy. To quote Zangief, I might add, just because you are a bad guy does not mean you are a bad guy.
Yeah.
It's that's what I like about it. And I do want to say, I know we keep saying jokes we like, and I know it's kind of really about the relationship with comedy and autism. This really works with absurdist comedy. Is what, if you don't mind me saying, Jenna, there's the jokes about very large guys doing stuff that's not very expected of large guys to be doing, where it just looks kind of funny. It's the visual dichotomy. Visual dichotomy is the word I'm
Yeah,
looking
like
for.
that, that concept has been around for hundreds of years.
Forever. They made a
The dawn of time.
they made an Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny DeVito movie, and some other character like movies about it. Visual dichotomy is such a great bit. And yeah, you know, I guess to really kind of get down to it, it really is all in a sort of taste. Because I might share a meme with you or John, and you guys might not get it. Because I don't want to say you guys aren't in the loop, but you know, well, but that's just like how my tastes are with things.
Yeah.
I know for certain Tabby will see a meme of something or she'll see a joke. She'll be laughing her butt off. But she shows me, I'm like, what the frick is this? So it's I understand that jokes are
Yes.
always to each their own.
Yeah. So, some of it is taste, but at the same time, like, at the same time, comedy is, in to some extent, objective.
Yeah.
There's just some things that are just straight up not funny.
Yeah, because obviously if you're gonna make fun of a group of people, then you're just a dick. And like I said earlier, just don't be a dick. That's real. That's really about it. Of course, you can make fun of like the systems that like we are currently in, and you can make fun of yourself, or if you understand the social intricacies of a group, then yeah, sure, go ahead with it. But if you only see that thing as in face value, if you get a straight white guy making fun of gay guys and that's his whole bit, or making fun of drag queens and that's their whole bit, it's not really funny. You know, some people are going to laugh about it, but that's obviously because some of them just have like really crude or cruel senses of humor, I guess, so to speak. But it goes the other way around too, because you can make a joke about certain people in charge, and then some people get very angry. That's very unfortunate. You can call you can call certain people in charge certain types of storage files, and some people get very angry. So you know, I guess it's a to each their own kind of thing. So
Yeah, but also some of it is hypocritical.
it is hypocritical. A lot of comedy is hypocritical sometimes.
But I'm just talking about those who make fun of one group but then get angry when they get made fun of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that. That's really true. It's like I think you get a lot of Facebook comedians that a lot of their content's devolved into just the same joke. I wouldn't even say Facebook comedians, just internet comedians where their joke is only one layer. It's not multifaceted. There's no facets to it. It's just what it's always the one thing that I always see scrolling through like some of my feeds or whatever. I don't actively look out for this. Most of the time it's like people calling out like dickhead behavior is a lot of right-wing comedy when it comes to people right wingers making jokes about people on the left wing is they always depict liberals as blue-haired women or whatever or soy boys. But like at the other end of the thing, you know, I mean, I always say I can throw it back too. I've never seen. I have a gay, not he's not a gay friend, but I have a bisexual friend that has been with men and women. But I've never seen a gayer thing than like some of these people on the right. That's I'm gonna censor that. I just wanted to get that out of my thing. Cruel jokes don't work.
Yeah.
I've been hammering this through the whole session. Is cruelty does not work as comedy because that it's more frustrating than it makes people laugh. My guess. So
Yeah. So that is
all right.
that I think that'll be a good stopping point.
Yeah, I think it's a good stopping point. I just sorry if you heard us, and especially me, ramble on about comedy for throughout the hour. We actually went a little bit over time. And I don't think you noticed, John had to leave a little bit early because he had some stuff he had to go do. So we've been trying to carry it for the last little bit. I don't know if I did delete it. This is for future me editing in the editing bay, but you know, oh, I might just like cut a little bit of a clip right at the end because I was just kind of getting a little bit of my frustrations out about something. But yeah, we a little bit actually technically we have went a little bit over time. So we are M.I.Diverse. I'm Dryw. That's Jenna. John,
Is in spirit.
he is here in spirit. Like I said, he had to leave. Please, like I said in the intro, right at the beginning, please like, comment, subscribe, share, remind me, the people that are watching, if you see me in person, remind me to upload of these videos onto Spotify. I've been very busy at home, so I've been forgetting to. Remind me to do it so you can listen to this in a podcast format if you care to. Or just listen to it in a podcast format on YouTube. Have this go on in the background while you're listening, while you're doing your day-to-day stuff. So please, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it, screaming it to the... I'm going to scream it to the mountains. Like, comment, subscribe, share, bell notification icon, all the fancy stuff. And you know what? Just live a little. Live a little. Yeah, you have anything to say before we sign off, Jenna?
Please do it from my shiny forehead. I'm realizing how
Uh,
shiny my forehead is.
please do it for my white plastery forehead, please.
Yeah.
Please. Yeah. So sorry we took your time. Probably people were telling me not to be sorry, but I would still say sorry because I kept you guys over time too. So hopefully you got to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys. We'll see you guys next time.